Parenting, a down-to-earth podcast presented by Bricks and Blocks Coaching. Tune in as we dive into the real-life experiences of parents. In this session, we are exploring a common emotion that most parents face: guilt. If you connect with our stories and want to hear more of them, please like and subscribe to our show. Today, we have in our studio another Swetha. She is a transformation expert and a board member of many companies. She's also into mindfulness and meditative practice. So I'm really looking forward to this session and hearing her experiences as a parent. Hi, Swetha.
Hey, Shweta. That's not often I say it on a podcast.
It's a very common name when I was growing up, but here, this is the first time I'm also interviewing a Swetha.
Well, thank you for having me.
Would you like to introduce yourself as a parent to our audience?
Absolutely. So I'm a mom of two. My daughter, she's 11 and a half, and my son, he's 9 years old. And both of them have been great teachers for me. As someone who's had a decade-long, set of experiences in meditative practices, contemplation, neuroscience, and emotional fluidity, I can tell you that the entire gamut of emotions that you need to traverse when you have children who are as different as chalk and cheese, which many parents will attest to about their children, I've definitely found that they've taught me more than many a practice.
Children are the best teachers for us as we grow into adults, right? So we learn a lot from them. Swetha, our season is focusing on guilt. So I would like to start off with asking you, what is your experience with guilt as a parent?
This one was quite a defining moment for me in my approach as a parent. This is a decade or so ago when I was running as general manager, $1 billion business for Procter & Gamble. And it was really rewarding professionally, but it was also very taxing. So I was traveling a lot and I really had only so much time to spend with my kids who were about a year and a half, 3.5 at that time. So I would do this interesting thing where, when I was in town, I wasn't traveling for work, I would get home 6:37 and I had this picture perfect mommy and, children time in my mind. It involved dinner, it involved some horseplay, and then I would take them into the bedroom and I would put them to bed and they would be all calm and peaceful and I would feel like a rock star mom. Except every time I tried that, it didn't work out. Guess why? Because kids, when they haven't seen their parents for long, are super hyper excited when they see them. So my kids they're happy to go through dinner and horseplay, but bedtime, they were not having any of that, not with mommy at least. And so what that meant was that, I would get in and I incidentally needed to get on some calls later at night for my global role. So I was on a schedule but I had this perfect, mommy role thing in my mind that I wanted everybody else to help me deliver on, which meant I wanted them to sleep on schedule when actually all they wanted to do was jump on the bed around mommy. So it in fact resulted in a lot of times I was most definitely frustrated. I would start, going, no, it's bedtime now. No, I need you to, close your eyes now. No, you have to be still now. And it made the kids really worked up and, there were tears sometimes, they were frustrated sometimes. And finally, it hit me like a ton of bricks once that what I was doing was I was wanting things to be a certain way just so that I could feel better. I could assuage my guilt as a parent. When actually the kids and I too needed something completely different. So then I changed track. And what I started to do was we started doing dinner and story time, dinner and reading time, and which was our time together. And then I'm fortunate to have help. So I started to have the help put the kids to bed after they and I had that dinner and reading time. So it became a great way of us spending time together, me adding unique value to them, as somebody I've been quite a reader all my life. And now, a decade later, my kids are great readers as an outcome. It also helped them down tune their energy for the night. And finally, the kids got to sleep and got to get to bed with somebody who they were not hyperactive around. And I think it also afforded me some much needed decompression time after I had played both my corporate role and my mommy role and before I got on to my night calls.
Isn't this a situation common in most households with the mom and dad, both working parents? A question which came up to my mind is, See, there are parents who face guilt for outsourcing the bedtime to helpers. And on the other hand, I do get the point whereby, we are trying to decompress ourselves, and then this whole responsibility of getting the kids to bed on time falls on us. It leads to quite a bit of emotion on our part as well. So there's too much emotions going on at this point in time. Then how did you manage to handle the guilt?
I think that's a great question, Swetha. If I had a penny for every mom who said, right, even when they have a village to help them, even if they have helpers like we do here in Asia, to help them, the guilt of then leaving the work to the help. I found that what actually mattered to the quality of my parenting, to the quality of our relationship, was not what I did with the kids. It was how I was being in the time that I had with the kids. So was I being somebody who had a schedule and a vision of perfect mom-child time? And then was I trying to corridor everybody into exactly that, no matter where the kids were actually, emotionally? Or was I being somebody who was able to notice the kids were super excited to see me? And that there was something that we could do together that would honor that excitement of theirs, but also help them relax and tune down for the night. So my bigger aha on this is that, yes, I think we deal with a lot of guilt, but at the same time, what is more important is asking ourselves, how are we being in the moments that we are with our children versus what we're doing? It's not about sending them to more enrichment classes or, having perfect little dinner times with them. I think it's more about in that moment, seeing how you're impacting them and also where they are at and learning to meet them midway.
Wow, that's so beautiful, noticing how we are with them rather than what we are doing with them. That's really beautiful. What did you learn from this whole journey of understanding your guilt?
Actually, very interestingly, Swetha, because I then have had a decade worth of studying neuroscience, being trained in meditative contemplative practices and emotional fluidity. What I now understand actually puts that entire episode in perfect clarity, because now I know that guilt is in fact a secondary emotion. It's an emotion that in fact locks us, holds us back from experiencing other emotions, other primary emotions that are even more difficult for us to stomach. In as much as guilt is a difficult emotion to experience, it is also a very common emotion. Pop culture around parenting has made guilt very, de rigueur, right? It's par for the course. So it's easier to say I'm guilty that I couldn't, put my kids to bed or I'm not spending enough time with them. It's easier to say that than to say that I'm overwhelmed. That I was overwhelmed at that time. That I didn't know, between my traveling job and having 700 people reporting to me in a great career, how I would balance that with having two yummy and lovely little children that I wanted to see grow up more often. I didn't know how to handle that, and that was overwhelming for me. It was harder to say that and accept that than it was to say that I'm guilty.
Yeah, I do agree. One of the things that we work on is on prioritization and drawing boundaries. It's not about, how do you process guilt, but about underlying layers of what is causing this guilt. So it could be overwhelm, it could be frustration, it could be that you just don't have enough support systems around you, right? So if we tackle the root cause of the problem, this is just the surface level. Guilt is just the surface level. That was very well said. So what advice would you have for parents, given that you have such a long experience in terms of understanding mindfulness and meditative practices? What's one advice you would like to give to our parents?
The name of the author escapes me, but I remember reading this beautiful book, Swetha. It was written by an authoress who had experienced seeing her teenage son go through substance abuse as well as suicidal tendencies. And one of the learnings, I know that's a lot. And one of the things that she wrote, and it really spoke to me, was that she realized in the end, it wasn't what she could do for him. It was who she could be for him that made the most difference. So I think this links back to what I was saying earlier, which is that we tend to imagine that our parenting is about, doing this and showing up here and, doing XYZ or providing for ABC. But actually what really, really matters is, who are we being with them when we are with them? Are we somebody operating out of, for example, me being guilty, not being able to access or process my overwhelm, and then wanting everybody to be on my schedule so I can feel like a great parent at the end of a long work day? Or am I able to notice how the children are feeling? And am I able to respond to that in a way that honors how they're feeling, as well as in a way that honors and takes care of me? Because let's face it, I was exhausted as a parent and I needed some TLC. I needed some decompression as well. So I think the what is less important and the who we are in that moment, if we are able to learn to be more aware, more present, we are able to notice how we impact others and how a certain moment unfolding is impacting us. I think it contributes to much richer quality of parenting. At least that's what I've found in the last 11 and a half years of being on that job.
Typically, when parents take their children for therapy sessions, children have anger issues or children are facing this issue, they're hyperactive. The therapists do work on the children, but most of the times what I hear from them is, I wish that the parents come for therapy. It's about how they handle their emotions or how they handle themselves when the child goes off the set path, right? It could be anything. It could be emotions, it could be their physical energy. How do the parents handle themselves in the moment reflects on how the child behaves. So what you said, which is who we are being in that point of time with the child, actually builds up their character. It also defines the whole relationship between the parent and the child.
Very well said. I mean, what I've found, Swetha, I have a better relationship with my daughter now when she's 11 and a half and tween than I did when she was a 3-year-old toddler.
We all learn over time. Parenting is a lifelong journey, right? And all of us have lessons to share, which is the whole point of this podcast as well, because every one of us has different experiences. Bringing those experiences and sharing, there's no right or wrong way of parenting. We're all learning as parents. So yeah, thank you so much for joining our show today. It was really wonderful talking to you. Before we wrap up, don't forget to subscribe and share our content with other parents. We'd love to hear your stories, so reach out to us at bricksandblockscoaching.com. Thank you for tuning in today. I'm Swetha, a parent coach, and this is Everyday Parenting. See you next time.